Okay, team. So yeah, I know this is going to probably get some negative attention, but I've been waiting to put this out there, and I was looking for a good opportunity to talk about this. Also, I need a haircut really bad, so I'm rocking my hodl hat today. But let's just talk through what's going on here and why I'm concerned about the NFT market. I'm concerned about some of the investors that are in it. I don't want to just talk about this as being a negative thing. I think there are many positives. I think it's a legitimate marketplace, but I want to talk through some of the concerns I have, some of the things that I think we're starting to see, and then what scale means exactly and how easy or maybe too easy it is to actually scale. So here's the deal. NFTs in a nutshell stands for non-fungible tokens. This is not to be confused with regular cryptos like BTC, Ether, etc., that are fungible tokens. So non-fungible token means that it's essentially unique. It represents one of one, so to speak. Whereas, with like Bitcoin, for example, it represents sort of like a medium of exchange, so to speak. Like there can be 21 million of them or whatever, right? And that's how you look at it. So here's the problem I have in a nutshell with NFTs. We're seeing these insane prices. They're selling for tens of millions of dollars. They're being traded on a regular basis for all sorts of money. Everyone can get rich doing it. There's 1,000 articles that I keep coming across that say, I started with $10. I was making minimum wage. I have nothing. Now I'm worth millions of dollars because I sold some NFTs. I think those stories are true. Okay, let's put a pin in that for a second. I think that those stories are true, but I also think that they represent a very tiny piece of the pie of who's actually able to do something here and make some money with this. What I want to talk about is the opposite side of this, what I see as being some of my biggest and largest concerns with the marketplace in general, and the ease of which you can access, make, and go to market with these things. So first and foremost, there's the issue of IP. Now, we know there's rules in place. If I make an NFT, I own that. I have the right to sell it. I own that. I own that IP. But there is some gray areas around who owns it once it gets sold. If you don't retain ownership of it as the artist, you can't recreate it because now someone else owns that IP. If, however, on the flip side, you retain the IP, does this mean that like this other person doesn't have the right to do something with the picture that they bought from you as well? I think it's going to be very confusing. I also want to speak to the fact that there's nothing stopping people from just taking screenshots and maybe putting a tiny letter A on the screen, and now they own a brand new thing because it's different, right? So I'm looking at this marketplace that's worth tens of millions, these NFT artwork pieces that are worth tens of millions of dollars, apparently, in a marketplace that's worth, I saw some numbers like 40, 50 billion, maybe it's even more. And there is nothing here that says that there is any scam in this, right? There's a marketplace to buy and sell them. It's no different than if I draw a picture on canvas and go and sell it, or write music, or whatever else is out there, right? There is nothing inherently that makes an NFT a scam. It's a piece of digital artwork, music, video, whatever. It's a representation of something in a digital format that gets stored on a blockchain. But the problem is there's nothing stopping the market from having a trillion, individual pictures where there's no ability to ever have anyone buy all these things because it represents more resources than exists on the planet. And I think that this is my concern first and foremost, is there's going to be a point where there's an almost inevitable market saturation point, because the resources for me to take 1,000 pictures of my screen today and list each one of them, there's nothing stopping me from do that. Yeah, there's a cost to it, but if I can create 1,000, you create 1,000, 10,000 people create 1,000, 20,000 people create 1,000. At some point, there's just an unbelievable amount to pump these things out there. Now, I understand the argument might be, well, they won't sell. But then how do you start to differentiate amongst these different pieces, these products, what comes with them? Now, I think there's a flip side too. I think the flip side is that there's ways to be unique in this space, as far as you can associate rights to it, right? Like a VIP pass. I own an NFT. It gives me rights to backstage access, or to a new release of something, or to a movie that's come out but no one else can get access to if you don't have an NFT. But I think the problem with this space as well is there are significant and easy ways to get scammed here. I think anyone can claim that they own anything and sell it to you. I think the average person, and I already know what the argument here is going to be, I think the average person who doesn't know much about crypto, certainly not about exchanges, certainly not about art, and certainly not about NFTs and NFT exchanges, it would be very easy for someone to just say, hey, you want to buy an NFT? and I can sell them a picture online that I just took as a screenshot off of anything else. And it's easy to play the game of like, well, they should know better. Like, this is a brand new marketplace where no one necessarily knows anything, right? Like a small group of people do. There's a huge amount of risk. So I think what I'm really looking for and what I'm thinking through as I'm going through this the past couple of weeks and looking at it and trying to get into it is what and how do we create protections for this marketplace to ensure that there are hard guarded IP in place, right, with copyrights that are legally filed, so that there are actions that can be taken against people who steal those copyrights. Now, it's easy to say like, well, you can send a notice to have it taken down. Okay, how much are you going to pursue this for in court? How much are you going to pay to have this actually pursued if the person says no, right? Like, how do we do this? How do we find a way to pull that down automatically? I think the other piece of this as well is in terms of, I want to be, I sort of, this is a weird topic for me because like I both love exactly what they are. And I love the idea of the open marketplace and the ability to go out and create something, derive your own personal value from it, have the ability to make money off of that. I think that's amazing. And I think the art world, frankly, needs this. But it's the same thing of like, if I go and take a picture of the Mona Lisa and then I sell it to you as a picture, well, is that infringing on the Mona Lisa? I understand, so unique use case, but is that infringing on the Mona Lisa if I now go and sell that to someone? I don't know. I think this is where I'm concerned. What I guess I'm really asking for is for the community in general, like, what am I missing here? What am I not thinking about? Like, how do we protect tens of millions of people who want to buy unique pieces of NFTs, but also see these prices continue to go up and watch as they keep getting traded for higher money? And we're already hearing about tons of scams in general. And just to be clear, I threw this on purpose because I'm an early adopter in the crypto world. I was mining Bitcoin and Ether way back when. I still have, I don't know if you can see it, all the stuff's behind me there. So I've loved the crypto space since it arrived. I've been very into it. I am a fan of all things blockchain. I love the technology. But just like anything else, the crypto space is chock full of massive scams all the time, rug pulls, pump and dumps. There's something like, I mean, this number could be wildly off at this point, but like 7,000 different coins or tokens out there. And I think 7,000 sounds like a lot. Then I think with the NFT marketplace, we're talking the potential to have like trillions, if not more, pieces of digital art sitting somewhere for nothing that's costing people both time and energy to get them up there, pay to host it on a site. And even then, who knows if they're ever going to sell? And if they do, who owns the rights to them after the fact? And how complex is this going to get when there's billions, if not trillions of pieces that are out there? When we think about, I'm going to use this example again, apologies if it's redundant, but if we think about the Mona Lisa, for someone to repaint that, it's going to be unique from the original one. You can try as hard as you want to make it exactly the same, but you can't, right? It's going to be different. The strokes of the arm and the hand, the way you hold the brush, the bristles on the brush, there's going to be differences no matter what. So it'll never be identical. I think the issue I'm having with the NFT world is it needs to find a space where it's representative of a lot more than just a piece of digital artwork. I know that it is in theory, but I don't think the average person out there knows that that's what it is or that's what it's used for. So that's sort of like my stand back moment here. I'm a guy who knows data science and analytics. I know equities. I know capital markets. I can speak all day about running funds and portfolio management. I don't know the art world well. But maybe my issue here is I'm trying to compare the NFT world to the art world, knowing that the art world includes, spoken word, video, everything else that's included in that conversation. But I think my big issue here in general is how do the protections of the physical art world get associated with the protections in the digital art world? That's what I'm not understanding at scale here. And I've done a lot of reading on this. I'm not seeing any clear protections in this space. A cease and desist order is a meaningless thing. Those get sent 1,000 times an hour, I'm sure. And you can just choose to ignore it and then whatever, sue the person. But then what? What happens then? I mean, like, it's sort of ironic. I have obviously some artwork behind me here, and I could essentially just take screenshots off my screen right now and sell 1 million copies of that and call it, Child's Eye. And, is that artwork? Sure, of course it is, because artwork's whatever we want it to be. But the question is, like, what's the value? How do I value that? And it's easy to say things like, well, in a marketplace, the market creates the value. But in a marketplace with maybe, tens of millions of users, but NFTs that measure in the hundreds of millions or more, at some point, there's an equilibrium here where, like, there cannot possibly be enough capital or resources to afford to not only hold them, but then to also store them and have some sort of reason or purpose for using them. I guess what I'm asking for, frankly, is like, what am I missing? Somebody tell me in the comments below. Like, am I totally misunderstanding this? Am I not seeing it through the right lens? I don't even know what I would do with an NFT. I think part of what I'm seeing is I see, Meta coming out with the metaverse, and am I hanging up NFTs in my Meta house that sits on my Meta land, and then I go and drive my Meta car to my Meta job? I don't know, right? I think there's money everywhere. I think there's a way to find a way to make investments in everything. I just don't know how a market with no structural top can ever not essentially become just the biggest bubble of all time. You can make the argument for crypto, sure, but I mean, I guess what I'm not getting my head around is I could take a screenshot of my face right now 1,000,000,000 times and then list that. And I know maybe it's impractical or whatever you might argue, but the point remains, that's essentially doable. I could take snippets of my voice from every video I ever do and create an NFT around that. I can then create snippets of the video and do the same. So my one 10 or 11-minute video could have billions of pictures, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of audio bytes, video bytes, etc. So I guess I'm not sure where I see the value in buying something that can be replicated hundreds of millions of times. And the IP argument's not working for me because at some point there's like a utilization issue here where what I'm looking to understand is like, what is the utilization factor behind it? The reason we hang up an expensive piece of artwork at home is because we want to, I'm going to make maybe this is lame, but like, it's because you're trying to show it off. It's probably the same reason why I have my kids' stuff up here. It's why museums put the stuff up there. If the goal here is that I want to create a metaverse and hang up NFTs in my metaverse museum, yeah, I don't know. I mean, are they worth tens of millions of dollars? It's an argument, right? Anything is worth what someone's willing to pay. But my fear is who's driving this market? Is it just simply the wealthiest people, the famous YouTubers, the celebrities who are buying and trading these amongst each other? And then eventually someone else is going to come and buy it off them. I mean, that's what it starts to feel like. This is not uncommon in the private equity world, frankly, where I know that I have to purchase a new company within 6 months or I lose that capital. This is a whole nother conversation, but quickly to give you the understanding of it, if I have 5-year terms on capital and we're coming up on year 4 or 5 and I haven't deployed that capital, I'm willing to go and overpay to buy a company from another PE firm because I need to make sure I deploy that capital so I can start to earn a return on that money. And this is sort of what happens is like, I got to then jump on the next one and the next one. The next person who's waiting in line to deploy capital maybe pays me a little bit more for mine. But the problem is this always ends the same way. At some point, someone's left holding things that have, no real value, but you've paid a lot for them. And I just don't want to see that happen. And I think my fear is that in an effort to grab value and not miss the boat, I can see a lot of investors jumping in here thinking they're going to buy some super low priced, NFT somewhere on some market exchange. And they're realizing like no one else wants it or it's a worthless thing. And then we lose an entire group of new investors to the market who are never going to come back because they feel like they got scammed. I think the same thing can be said in the equity markets and the crypto markets and the real estate markets, everything, right? There is no reason to believe that any new marketplace focused in and around a new tool or new offering, especially when there's an unlimited amount, it is very easy to accidentally create huge bubbles that leave a lot of people out in the cold afterwards. I am not the type who says we have to watch out for every single person because I think we are adults. We have to figure out what we're doing ourselves. But I just get concerned in a market where there's no cap to what you can create. And then it becomes just a buzz of like, well, where and how do you assign and derive value? And those with the loudest voices and the ability to pay the most can draw the most attention to what they want to push, what they want to push out to the market. So I don't know. This is a little bit more rambling than I had it in my mind. I think as I was really looking at this, I'm looking at all these articles, like how easy it is to launch your first NFT. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can take 20,000 pictures, just set my phone and just like all day long, just take pictures. And now I've got a 20,000 picture collection I can launch. And, other than maybe the fee of putting them out there, if I can afford it, now what? Now I've just flooded the market with 20,000 new NFTs. So I don't know. I'm missing something here. I can't seem to figure out what it is. This is obviously not a space I'm comfortable with. So, whatever I'm missing, please let me know. I'd love to get some opinions on it. And frankly, like, I'll be honest, I am interested in this. I think there's value in understanding what this marketplace looks like, the way it can grow, where I can invest in it. My thoughts, though, assuming anyone's still watching at this point, my concern at scale is the people who are going to be making the money here are going to be the exchanges and the venture capital firms putting money into the exchanges, because this is not very different than what we see time and time again. It's not the people digging for gold, it's the ones making the shovels and the jeans, right? It's not the penny stocks, it's the brokers who are selling them, making huge commissions on it, right? Or getting that big spread between the pricing, right? It's the same thing with a lot of the crypto exchanges. The amount of rug pulls and scams have been unbelievable, but no one ever gets their money back, but the brokers still made their money on those trades, right? Assuming there's a broker, of course. So with all that said, I don't know. Let me know what I'm missing. I'm genuinely curious here because I must be missing something. Thanks so much for watching. Appreciate it. And as always, be safe out there and watch your own back. Thanks, everybody.